Hello, 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 and thank you for tuning in to another sector review. Sundays are for sectors and studying, so without further ado, we're gonna get this thing started. I would like to start off with the new candle openings that we will be getting on tomorrow, Monday, 7/28, and those candles are the 2 day, the 4 day, the 5 day, the 10 day, and the weekly candle. So make sure you are looking at those candles. Today, for the sake of time, I'm most likely going to just be looking at the monthly. Since we only have about we only have 4 trading days left before we start the new month of August. The first is Friday. So Monday through Thursday, we will still be in the month of July. So I want to see what we will be looking like practically now that we are at the end of July. What could we typically be looking for going into August? So I'll be looking at the monthly, look at the weekly, and I would like to see how the day closed Friday. So yeah, so without further ado, I'm gonna start off with the VIX first today because I left the VIX off last week. Forgive me. So we're gonna start off with the VIX. If you're familiar with the VIX, you know what it does. The VIX is typically the diversion of SPY. So if VIX is bearish, SPY is usually bullish 9 times out of 10. You see how it is the literal opposite. So it is also important to look at the VIX to kind of get a gauge of what the market might do. Okay, so we're gonna start with the VIX on the monthly. Like I said, we only have a few more trading days. I would like to see what we're looking like. So on the month, we're pretty bearish. We've been bearish all month. They've been looking like this. So I'm looking to come down and sweep maybe down to 1270. It may not get that far, but this is what I have marked out. So this is the VIX on the monthly. We're still bearish on the month. We go down to the weekly. If you look, we were compressing at one point on the week for a couple of weeks, and then boom, we dropped. So I have a target at 1456. We closed at 1492 on Friday with no wick in sight. So it's looking like we may at least start off the week bearish. The VIX may start off the week bearish, which means the market SPY will probably start off the week bullish. We'll just see what happens. The daily close as a bearish, 2 down on the day, and as you can see, no wick in sight. We closed just a few cents below previous day low at 14.95, and we closed at 14.92. So closing below that is giving, even though it's just a few cents, it's giving me a sign that we may start off bearish. I'm looking for a first target at 1456. I believe there was another target I had. I think it was okay, we can meet 1456, and then here it is. 1456, then 1426, and then if we continue to drop, I'm anticipating us to at least start sweeping these lows here, and that will tap out at 1270. So SPY on the monthly, as I stated, it is the total opposite of what the VIX is doing. So we're still bullish on the month. Going into Monday, we closed at 637.10. I remember mentioning in the last sector review, if you watched it, that if we were able to maintain above the 619 like we did, You will want to start looking at psychological numbers at 6:30, then 6:35, and 6:40. Well, this week we got up to 6:37. So if you played SPY this past week, you were bullish, you made some money. The weekly closed as a 2 up. Not much. I wouldn't call this a hammer because it wasn't much of a wick. We did dig deep. I mean, not deep. We did dig back down into 226. We immediately found price and buyers there, and so we shot up. So the weekly closed bullish, and the day closed bullish. Going into next week, we're looking for some continuation. Again, just like last week, we're at all-time highs, so you want to place your targets as psychological numbers: 640, 645, 650, so on and so forth. ES, same for ES. The monthly is still open. We're bullish. We are clearly above this breaker structure here, so that's a good thing. I do remember saying last week that we needed to hold 6,300. That was our last line of defense before going down if we were to trigger a bearish sentiment, and we did not even get close to 6,300 on last week. We'll go down to the weekly. The weekly closed as a 3-2, so we're looking for a 3-2 continuation on the week, next week possibly. I would like to say our line in the sand this week. I'm gonna go with previous week high. If we lose previous week high, then we could start seeing some downward movement back to that 62.99, 6,300 I stated last week, and then so on and so forth. But for right now, the market is bullish, so we are going to continue playing the upside until we see something different. This 3-2, we're looking for a 3-2-2 continuation. When we start coming back within 50% of this candle, I would set an alert on this weekly candle. 50% of this weekly candle is 63.75. I will start kind of just looking, paying attention. Remember, let the candle close. And if we really start losing it, like I said, we start getting a 63.57, and I would start making a decision on if you're in calls to start looking at puts. That's on the weekly. The daily, we close bullish. Okay. NQ on the monthly. NQ, same thing. We closed above that breaker structure. We held it. We closed above. We're held above previous month's high. All this is confluence for more upside. Let's go to the weekly. Same for the weekly. 2-2 continuation as we close the week. Very little wick, so I'm anticipating some more upside next week. NQ was a little weaker than the actual market this week. NQ is more tech based, as the market is a little bit more different. It has more different things inside of it. ES, SPY, NQ, and QQ, and the Qs are more tech. So this was a tad bit weaker this week, but it pulled through at the end of the week, and so we ended up closing bullish. I'm sorry, this is QQ. It's the same, but finishing off NQ. The daily, we pulled back a little bit from the highs, but I still believe that we're going to continue. And if not, you will want to, I'm thinking here, like for ES, watch the previous week's high at here 23,320. You want to watch that. That be your last line of defense. You want to start watching earlier though at 23,361. And then if we get an aggressive push down under this 23.3, then yeah, you want to start making some decisions on if you're in calls to start looking at some puts. If we get in the close below this high, this weekly high, then I would think that we're going to start targeting this open and then start coming down here. Again, for those that don't know, these numbers will change Monday, but as of right now, they are still targets. I still will use these as targets, so make sure you're marking these out. Alright, for the Q, same thing. Since they mimic bullish month, you wanna, like I say, psychological numbers 570, 575, 580. Watch for the previous month's high at 552. Don't want to lose that. Here we are on the weekly. Same thing apply. We start losing 560. Well, we start losing, 562 and below. Then start making a decision. We start getting here, start making this 562.05, 559, 560 area. Watch this. We start tapping or getting into here and it starts looking aggressive, then puts look like they'll be in play and we can target 558. The Q's on the daily, we close as a 2-2. Here's some wick here. We got a little bit of resistance towards the end of the day. The high was 567.70. So next week, if we remain bullish, you want to start aiming for 570 and above. SMH on the monthly remains bullish. Semiconductors, we remain bullish on the month. Very little wick. We tapped 293.53 and came back and closed at 287.49. We don't want to aggressively lose the breaker structure 282.96 and also the previous month's high at 280 in the 280s. So we don't want to get the losing that. We stay above here. This is the ultra bull case. If we stay above 283, last line of defense for me 280. So the weeklies are failed to up. If you paid attention in my last sector review, I went over failed to ups, and so you should know how they are made and how to read them. SMH closed inside day. Same thing for inside candles. I spoke and showed a visual on how to use and how to mark inside candles. Inside candles are actionable signals. So we have one on the day. If you're feeling bullish for SMH on this coming week, you will mark. Here's your call entry on the daily. Hold it down. So I'm on that. We'll take the put side and we'll mark here, make it red. So we have our entry on the daily for call entry, and I put entry for SMH. This is just a teaching lesson. I'm anticipating more upside. We can close this gap here. We can target this gap and close it at 290. That could be first target, and then grab this liquidity here at topping off at 293.54. So that's for SMH. XLB on the monthly, we're still bullish. I had a bullish price target of, what was it, 92.89 here, and as you can see, it tapped it and came back and rejected just a little bit. That's on the monthly. So let's just go down to the weekly. We were a 2-2 reversal. This hammer told the story. It found support here and pushed price back up, which indicating before this candle closed, if this candle would have remained open, it probably would have turned bullish. But it ran out of time. Buyers ran out of time, and so this is how it closed. That's how I look at it. When I see when I see a hammer like this, or even a shooter, I'll show a shooter later. When I see a hammer like this where it has wick significantly from the below price, that in my mind, that lets me know if there was still time on the clock, they would still be pushing this up. And so this is what happened. So they picked up from where they left off the week before. Does that make sense? So this hammer told the story. So we continue to be bullish. They continue buying this past week, and so now we are here. We tapped close to my price target, so that was cool. We didn't quite get it. We were off a few cents, a little less than 10 cents. So, and then my next target still remains at 93.50. If we remain bullish, I do have some more targets. You can take this target here, whatever, like 93.50. Another dollar at 94.47. I'll make that target. I'll add the date. I've been adding the dates to my charts. I find it helpful to let me know. It gives me a gauge of how long a stock takes to get to target. So if I'm saying, if I put this on the 28, I'm not giving it to the 28 to make target. I'm just seeing, once I mark this, how long it will take to get to target, and then I put that in my journal, in my notes, so I know it's giving me the characteristics of the stock. How fast does a stock take to get to target, that particular stock? Because each stock is different, each sector is different. Some move faster than others. So this, putting the date on it, helps me gauge how fast or how slow a stock takes to get to the target that I'm anticipating, if it gets there. So on the weekly, here again, this has become one of my favorite setups. When I see a hammer that pushes up like this, these two revs, oh man, I love them. So, like we see here, I just showed previously, we had a hammer that pushed up and price just continued. Or is this the same one? We just showed this, right? My bad. Let's go to the daily. So here on the daily, we had a CCRP. Oh no, this is a 2-day. Sorry. On the daily, we gapped down and then we came back and brought this up here on the daily, it'll show my targets. I'm still targeting this, here, and here. We have equal highs up high, but that's later. That's it. 95.18. So XLB for me still looks bullish. They've been doing great. This is a good spot. It closed. It closed very strong within the upper ADR. This is what I have. This is an indicator that I have. It's basically support and resistance. This is a support and resistance area, and it closed aggressive in it. It didn't wick it, so this is a good bullish sign that XLB will continue to push forward next week. XLC on the monthly. XLC on the monthly. I wrote some notes down. I done skipped over some of them. Dang. I hate that. I was supposed to be looking at these notes, but it's all good. XLC on the monthly. We are a fail to up. Last week, I believe XLC on the monthly was inside. So it was inside month, and then so what that means is we pushed up and we triggered a 2 up on the month, and now we're back within inside of this, but we've already triggered the 2 up, and now we're closing more as a doji. So we have, like I said, we still have 4 days. This can push, can come back and push up, or we can come back within the range. But as of last week, we have been bullish and turned this into a bullish candle from becoming inside. XLC last week, I know we went over the 2 weeks last week. So XLC on the 2 week, last week it triggered the 312 up, and we reached 108.74 was the target, and we got to 109.70. So we completed the 312 up. If you remember, this was our call entry here. What I just stated, this was our entry 107.94. This was our target 108.73, and it gave us 109.68 before retracing back to 107.62. So if you played XLC to the upside last week, you got paid. The day closed, we gapped down. We did close bearish on the day. So if XLC wants to dig deeper below this previous week's high at 107.34, we can see 106.77, and if it wants to, it can close this gap, or at least tap this little small gap here at 106.49. We can come back down, something like this. Okay, there it is. Come on. Let me turn this off. So we can come back down something like this to dig a little deeper for XLC, and then come back up and make new highs again, if that makes sense. So that's XLC. XLE. I remember talking about XLE last week. I was saying how it's stuck in the range, but the range that it's stuck in, it's a almost a $5 range, so it's not like you can't make no money off of it. But right now, XLE is one of those I don't find that you can swing in. Like, these are more day trades. Like, take your money by the end of the day, no later than 2 days, because it's hitting targets, I'll give it that, but it's immediately rejecting. So don't overstay your welcome in XLE. We, as you can still see, we're still wicking. We're still weakening. We're still having trouble here at 89.43. This is where we are so far. Again, 4 days left. If we can hold 50% of the previous week, if we can hold 86.85 going into next week, I think XLE has a chance to remain bullish, I should say, because technically it's bullish. Let me see, what did I have on this? Last week it was below the 86.85 area, and so this week it closed at 87.10. So that is a positive confluence for XLE. Let's look at it on the week. We have a 2-1 failed to on the weekly. So it failed to stay down. So you see these wicks here, wick, this area here is a demand area, so it's been finding support here. So next week we could probably see maybe some bullish matter in XLE. I don't know, we'll see. So XLF last week, well, let's start with the monthly. The monthly did its thing. XLF did its thing this week. Shout out to the players or the traders that played banks, because it did its thing. So XLF on the monthly, we're a strong bullish hammer, looking pretty good on the monthly. What did I have on this? The 2 week had an inside hammer. It broke to the upside. The weekly had a 2-2 rev setup, and it completed it. So let's start on what we talked about the 2 week last week. So here's the 2-2. Here is the hammer, the inside hammer. I remember marking it. My markings are still here, even though I didn't color code them. Here's our markings. Here's the upside. We marked it at 53.26. We got to 53.49. So that's not bad. A little bit over $1 if you played XLF last week. The weekly closed. Here's the 2-2 red. They go to hammer, and then they go to, see the wick. See, this is what I mean. If the candle hadn't closed when it closed, I believe price will still be going up. Why do I say that? Because look what it does the following week. It continued where it left off. This 3 candle pattern, where it'll be bearish, and then it'll come down, and then price. This is what I want. I'm usually in on this candle. If this candle closes like this next candle, I'm in it. I'm closing. I'm in it. I'm closing in on it. Look how the daily closed. The daily closed, if you watch my last watch list, I explained why I like outside candles, whether they're bearish or bullish. We've been in a bullish trend. We've been in a bullish market, so I've been talking about only the bullish ones, but it goes either way. These outside candles, look out for them, because we typically, the next candle is a 3-2 up. If you watch my last video, I showed you a couple of examples on that. So for XLF, like I said, it did this big one last week. Shout out to XLF, shout out to financials. I'm bullish going into XLF next week. We got a 3 here. I'm looking for a 3-2 continuation on that. If you want, you can, mark the top of this 3 as your entry. You can mark your invalidation. Oh wait, I didn't mean to do that. well, since we're here, I didn't mean to grab my field too. Um, but 50% of this candle, this is where you will start raising your antennas. If it starts to aggressively get below 53.24, you might want to start looking to cut. The 618, like I said, if it gets aggressively, because see, it could start hitting here, it can start getting to 50% and then it'll wick and go back up. So let the candle close. Please let the candle close, and also check the volume. If it's pushing like just stupid crazy and it's not yeah, cut it. But if it's just a slow grind down, just watch it, let the candle close. For me, I will watch, for me, the 53.18, 53.14 area. This will be my stop loss for me. Again, I will start raising my antennas around 53.24, but I will also be seeing how it's moving towards these areas. Is it aggressive, or is it just like a slow crawl? Because if it's slow crawling, it'll tap it, and then you done been and got out, and then it'll reverse and go back the other way. So just watch it. Your official invalidation is 52.99. Make sure you buying some time on these contracts. Don't be buying nothing this next day and 2 days, and then you getting smoked and you letting Theta kill your contract, and only for it to reverse on you. I mentioned that in a previous video too, so make sure you are watching these videos. There are gems jam packed in them. Alright, XLI. What did I have on XLI? I remember saying that this was stupid bullish. Y'all see these? Okay, XLI on the month, strong bullish month. No weak in sight, so it has not done any retracing all month. Remember, I tell you, candles tell a story. We are approaching the end of the month. So this candle all month for the month of July, we just been on go. Gas station pill. Just no, we just been on go. So what would that tell you? We had a phenomenal month for industrials. We're 4 days out into the next month, so I'm anticipating industrials to at least the first part of August be bullish. Because remember what I said, if the candle hadn't closed, would buyers still be in, or would they still be buying? And as of right now, they're still buying. There hasn't been any exhaustion on XLI on the monthly scale. So this is how you analyze candles. So what notes did I have for that? The 2 week. What did we talk about? The 2 week. Look how the 2 week played out. The 2 week had a 3-2 that it completed. This was the 3-2, and now this is the 3-2-2 that we were looking for. Here is our entry we had on the 2 week, 152.38, and we topped out at 155.04. So you made some money if you played XLI from the sector review from last week. This week it closed as a hammer. We did dig back down, but like I said, we found what happens when you see a wick like this. That means we found this was a discount, and we found buyers at 149.75, and we pushed this bad boy all the way back up. So XLI still looks bullish. The weekly closed as a hammer. No wick at the top. So we still strong on XLI. This is your industrials. If you watch the sector review, I mean, it wasn't a sector review. If you watch the review, the little tidbit lesson, it was a 10-minute video on how to look for trades using the sector SPDR. That was a good gem. This is how you will find what plays that are in these sectors. So make sure you're looking at your sectors. The money is there. So closed on the day as a, would we like to call this a hammer? I guess it's just a bullish 2 up Like I said, we found support and closed. Very bullish on XLI, so I'm bullish going into next week on XLI. If you want to dig back into, if we need to, if they would like to, you could take 50% of this candle, 154.21, or even 154 even for me. I wouldn't mind seeing a dig back into, I wouldn't mind seeing a dig back into 154 to get a better discount, since, are we at all-time highs on this? Oh yeah. Yeah, so to get a better price, or get, as we like to say, discount, I wouldn't mind this digging a dollar short, or shoot, 153.86. It's not guaranteed we will get this because we are in a very strong bull market. So if we get it, that'll be great. Grab it and take that back up to all-time highs and move forward. This will be, let me see, 153.72 aggressively down will probably be my line in the sand. Yeah, to take back up. XLK Tech. We have a small wick on the month, but we did pretty well. My notes on it from last week, we had a bullish 3 on the week. It completed a 3-2 continuation on the weekly. Okay, so we'll get there in a second. A monthly, strong bullish month. We still looking good. The weekly close is a 3-2. So here's that. You see what I'm saying? We had like, Tech took a tumble a little bit last week. It took a pullback. Let me see. What is this? It took a pullback. Boom. So if you take your field and you draw from the low to the high, or the high to low, whichever one, however you want to do it, 50% of this, and this is why I have this indicator. See, 50% of the week is 57.68, and you see how it dug down to 256.89. This is why I say, 1, you gotta let the candle close. 2, I'm more of a 618 and a 705 where I'm like, that's my last line of defense, and it has to drop down aggressively. I say that to say because Tech dropped down, and you would have, or the typical trader, new trader, shit, even me, this is why I learned to start marking 50% of any previous candle, to let that be my stop loss, or to let that be my gauge on what I want to do with that, where I want to be, because it wicked here and the candle wasn't closed, but most people would have gotten out and like, oh no, Tech is going, it's failing. And boom, and look what it did. The remainder all week, it dropped here and it pump faked a lot of the buyers out, thinking we were just selling, thinking we were gonna go down, only for it to end up closing as a 3-2 on the week and as a hammer. So what I am anticipating for next week is a 3-2-2 continuation going into next week. The daily closed as a 2-2 continuation. We had a CCRP here. See, here's where the drop came in. So Monday we went up, and then Tuesday we dropped. and we dropped pretty hard. So this is the candle. This is the one day where everybody was like, "Oh snap, tick week, tick week." And if you're looking at it on the day, I mean, I see it. And like I said, I can understand people getting out, but this is why I start marking 50% of the weekly, of the daily, of the monthly, of the key time frames, that whatever time frame I'm looking at, I'm marking 50% of that previous candle. I'm tired of getting shaken out because it shook all the buyers out here and it didn't do anything but immediately buy back up. This was discount, and usually discount is within the 618, 705 of your field drawing. This tool is very helpful, very helpful. So I'm looking at bullish sentiment for XLK. I would like, it did reject the previous week's high and we did close below it, but we also salvaged the previous day high. So I'm just looking at this as a potential just pullback to try to get some discount to go reach 265. Yeah, to reach 265 and maybe 268, 270. XLP on the month did something crazy. Okay, so it was a 2 down on the month. Like, please watch the sector review from last week. Like, this is so helpful. This was actually bearish as I don't know what last month. Like, this candle was red and it was below this and it was looking weak and sick, and I pretty much counted XLP out. I was like, yeah, XLP is going down. If I remove this so you can see, yeah, this candle was in green last week. Watch the sector review from last week. This candle was not green. The notes I have, XLP was the one that went from a 2 down on the month to a failed 2 down. It is currently above 50% of the previous month, which is that price is 81.45, and it closed at 81.50, just 5 cents. But from where it was last week to where it is now, hey, it is still in this box, this range it is still within this range. We ain't gonna do nothing but just slide this mug on over and now we're here. So yeah, but it did make a positive turnaround on the monthly, and even though, like I said, it's just a few cents above 50% of the previous month, it's still above it. So I don't know. XLP, I've mentioned before, it's a slow mover. It will creep up on you. The tickers that are inside, it will creep up on you. It's one of the ones you really do have to watch. It'll sneak up on you. The weekly, see if you still see, when you go to lower time frames, we're still in this box. We're still within this candle, this motherboard candle. So it's just ranging, but within the range, it has been making moves. So here is again my favorite setup where it'll give you aggressive candle down, and then it'll give you a push up to indicate next candle will be green. So here's my 2-2 rev. I love 2-2 revs. So I don't know. Like I said, XLP can be a tricky one. We are above, like I said, we are above these key levels. We did close above them, so we could get some more push up. I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm gonna mark this. I'm thinking off the weekly. I'll mark 82.16 as a target. Yeah, I'll mark 82.16. We're gonna put the date. So yeah. keep the ones that I already have. The daily close as a hammer fell to down. It failed to stay down, so XLP might give us a little green next week, or this coming week, I should say. So XLB is another one. See this setup. See how this one's a little different. This is one. It was a fail to up, and it pushed aggressively down. But I'm starting to learn about these particular candles. It depends on where they are on the chart, because see, this one aggressively pushed up, and even though it pushed down, look what happened here. They still found buyers here. So long as I say, see how it didn't really break the low of this past month. This was May. See how it didn't break? Well, it did break the low of May, and it found support here, but it immediately turned back green. So this was a fail to down. You gotta watch where these are. So depending on where the placement is of these push down like this could definitely be a fake out to go back up. So I kind of like these too. I'm learning. I'm watching these a little bit more on the fail to ups that aggressively push down only for us to come back green. These are fake outs depending on where they are on the chart. So XLB on the month. What notes I have for XLB? Nothing. Oh, I didn't do XLB last week. I just added this week. This is home builders. So we had a fail to. Not a fail to. We had a 2 down hammer that pushed back up, and the following week, this past week, was bullish. We swept these highs here and we came back down, but we also closed above the breaker structure on the weekly. So that is a good sign that even though we did sweep these highs and come back down, we didn't get below this breaker structure. So I'm still rooting for upside on home builders. These targets are still marked. I still want these. So we'll leave them there. XLRE. Man, XLRE. Real estate did me dirty, man. I have been talking about how it's been staying in this compression, man. I ended up selling my stock for a loss, man, because it was just in the compression too long, and guess what it did? It broke out. I remember talking about 42 for a long time. If it breaks 42, it's gonna do its thing, and it did. So kudos to that. So we are out of this compression for now. We went 2 up from the previous month, so let's look at it on what were my notes. Finally went from inside month to 2 up on the month. That's what I just explained. It broke out of that compression, now above 42. So let's go through that. So if you can see, here's the compression. Here's the candle that broke above it. Now I want, let's see if we can get 43.30 and then 43.86 and so on and so forth. I'll mark this one. This is a new one. We're going a bit longer than last week. Let's start. I guess because I'm also recapping too. XLU is still bullish on the month. We got a bit of a rejection from 86.02. Now we're at 84.52. We are still above the breaker structure on the monthly. I mean, on the monthly D's high. So this is good. We still got some room. We don't want to see 83.17 or anything below it. I'll say that we don't want to see anything below 83.17 because now we're starting to be in bearish territory. If we can stay above here, we're doing great. On the weekly, we were 3-2, so we were 3-2-2 continuation where there's a bit of rejection. We came back in, so now we're a shooter on the week, and so like I said, we don't want to really lose 83.17. But this is a shooter on the week. We get below here, I'm gonna just make it a target. We can look out for anything below 83.69. We just use this PE and we'll change it. Instead of saying 2 week, we'll change it to 1 week. And then we'll put the date. So we'll add this here on a weekly scale. If XLU starts to pull back even more and we get below 83.69 and then we lose 83.17, you can start aiming for these targets here, the 82.71, 82.53, and so on and so forth, even probably down to 81.39. If we remain bullish, I don't have nothing to worry about. Ooh, we are double inside day. Hey man, we're a double inside day on XLU. So let's go ahead and mark this out. We're gonna mark, here's our call entry for the day. We're gonna watch this for real, for real. We're gonna watch this week. Why are we gonna watch this week? Because I've mentioned how inside bars are not only actionable signals but in compression. The analogy I used, pressure bust pipes. The more pressure you have, the more compression you have, the more explosive the move. So we have not only one inside day, we have two inside days. So that's double the compression, which would be double the move. So where's my PE on the day? Put entry on the day. I'm gonna mark this out, and we're going to watch what utilities want to do going into next week. Are we going to hold this area, or are we gonna let it drop? If we let it drop, if this is an earlier entry, we get below 84.11, you can take now that our put entry on the weekly now could become a target. If we slide below the put entry on the day, you can take it from here to here and now let your put entry on the week be your target. I hope that makes sense. And it's same for the upside. We get to going above 84.61, 84.70 would be your first target. This previous will be your first target, and then we would try for upper AWR at 85. Yeah, 85. We want this. Matter of fact, we'll mark this one. 85.10. So those will be your two that you would want to look for. if we're going to the upside. Okay, we're almost done. XLV, man, healthcare did me so dirty though. All right, so I mentioned in the last one, XLV, it was bearish. It was, whew, Lord, if you watched it, it was bearish. But this one did a complete, what do you call it, a 180. Granted, if you watched the last one, I did say I wanted it, we were going to hit, 130 as a target. I also had 127.39 as a target, but it literally found support here, which so 131.66 to 130.98 was for profit taking. So yeah, that was very short lived, but hey, it hit it and then it immediately shot up. So now, instead of being a bearish candle on the day, we are now a bullish hammer. What month this is? We are going into the fall very soon, so people start getting sick. So this is kind of right up healthcare's alley. So right now we got 4 days left. We are a bullish hammer on the monthly. We have some gaps here that we can target, some gap fills at 140.44. We can target. Look at this outside week, man. You see that? Healthcare did this thing. I guess I can't be mad. It tapped my 130, but it did not take out these lows like I thought it would. It immediately took a turnaround. So we are looking for a 3-2 continuation on the weekly to, I guess, 140.79. We can make that a target, a weekly target, 140.79. See how long this takes. Let's see what it would do. We can also take 143.79 as well. XLY, we are still bullish on the month. Look at this. The CCRP on the month is playing out perfect. Look at that. We still out the monthly target. We can mark 232.17, 235.95, and then the highs at 240. But this is playing out really well. Very small wick on the month. Let's see what we want to. What did I have on that? It was actually bearish inside year. Now we're bullish inside year because we're above the close of the previous year. The close of the previous year was 224.36. We are at 224.87 at the time of this recording. So we went from bearish to bullish on the year. That is good for consumer discretionary. So now, fast forward, let's go back down to the week. Here's a V-shaped recovery where we were going down, down, down. We found some buyers here. Now we're going up. We gapped up, and then we compressed. So we found expansion. Now we're here in consolidation. Now we're looking for more expansion out of this consolidation. So this looks great. You see this V-shaped recovery? We're going back to 240. See you at 240. Buy some time. Let's see. This is the daily. It's a bullish kicker pattern. I know I've never talked about those, but this is where we gap down and then now we're bullish going back up in this direction on the daily. So I'm looking for more bullish activity for XLY coming this week. 226 first target. We can clean up this gap, and then take this high on the daily at 226.90. 226.90. And last but not least, man, we went an hour this time. Hold on. Last but not least, XME, same thing. Look at this, because I'm telling y'all see this? You see this candle? Hey, this candle is something special. When you see this, that don't mean get in it, but just anticipate the next candle to do this. I've been showing you guys this for like the last two sector reviews. Man, this fail two down is something special, especially when it wicks as strong as this. Yeah, okay. So the monthly, the weekly, strong. We have a small wick here, but I'm still anticipating more up movement on XME. This is metals and minings. If you don't know what is in that sector, please go to sectorspider.com and find out. XME it's finding. It looked like it could dig a little deeper and tap 76.40 and find some support here. If it hasn't already found support here, it looks like it has at the previous week low at 76.84. So, but if it wants to dig a little deeper, I don't mind filling this gap here. There's a gap here. I don't mind it filling this gap or tapping it right at 75.64. I'll draw a path. So if we can come down a little more here. Oh no. Let me turn this off. How did that happen? Alright, let's go. If you can come down more here, fill that gap, and then come back up like that. So, yeah. And that is it. So, as you can see, I'm not very bullish on pretty much any ticker this week. On any sector, I should say. I'm not pretty bullish on any sector this week. Now, that doesn't mean we won't get any pullbacks like I just mentioned here for XME. The pullbacks are needed right now. Will we get them? I don't know. But hopefully I provided some insight on, just in case we do get some pullbacks, don't freak out. Doesn't mean the market is going down. Like I said, we are in a very strong bullish trend right now. There hasn't quite been any indication that we will be reversing to a bearish sentiment. Pullbacks are normal. We need them for discount, need them to get our contracts on sale. So if you see any red in the beginning, middle of the week, it's all good. I will take that and monitor it. Or if you know what you're doing, I will take that and use those as buying opportunities for the upside. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful. Comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know. Feedback is always welcome. Until next time, here's your sector review for the upcoming week. Sundays are for sectors. Have a good one. Peace.